If you ask me what game within the last decade has had a strong chokehold to the gaming industry, I'll probably say that it's League of Legends. I'm kidding, it's GTA 5. Released way back in 2013, GTA 5 has been one of, if not the biggest game that has come out within the last decade. With whopping 190 million copies sold, it's a game that's definitely made huge waves in the gaming industry. Online microtransactions. With the recent drop of GTA 6's trailer and also with my recent unemployment, I figured that it's a good idea to go back and revisit one of the most influential games of my teenage years to see if my perspective in regards to its single player has changed or not. Without further ado, let's pack our bags and head towards Los Santos. The game follows three protagonists: Franklin, a street hustler; Michael, a retired bank robber who faked his death; and Trevor, a murderous psychopath. We follow them on a series of events that will lead to their paths crossing one another. Of course, this is the bare bones explanation of the stuff that unfolds within the story. But the main point here is that Rockstar attempted a concept that was never really done before. Having three protagonists in a single video game is something that is unheard of around this time, and considering that this is Rockstar's first attempt in doing so, I think they really did a solid job. Michael, Franklin, and Trevor are characters that are still talked about even to this day. Like, I haven't played the game for almost 6 years and I can tell you how entertaining they were as characters. Writers at Rockstar always had a good track record in making iconic characters, and I bet it's going to be the same for GTA 6. However, even though I said that they managed to make it work, it does not necessarily mean that it did not have its issues. Having the game unfold in this format caused the story to be somewhat of a clusterfuck, since each character has their own story arcs along with their own cast of side characters. Sure, you could argue that some of these plot points were wrapped up, but considering that the game only had around 69 main missions to tell everything, it's unavoidable that some plot points would feel really rushed. Some can even be considered as missed opportunities. For example, Trevor had an altercation with the Chinese triads.
Waiting!
Instead of having a full-blown murder mission dedicated to Trevor settling the beef, we were just given a mission where the triads thought Michael was Trevor's boyfriend, so they kidnapped him in hopes of baiting Trevor into saving him. The triads could have been interesting villains, and I would even go as far in saying that they could have been a lot better than the whole Merryweather fiasco. In terms of villains, in my humble opinion, GTA 5 has a really weak set of villains for all the shit that they stir up within the game. Out of everyone, I think Steve Haynes is the only guy whom I felt is really a villain. Stretch and Chang felt like throwaway villains, and Devin Weston just didn't feel that much of a threat. Like, at least Steve is someone who's willing to get his hands dirty, whereas Devin doesn't really do anything that makes him a convincing bad guy. Sure, he refused to pay Franklin and Lamar for the cars. Sure, he tried to screw Michael and Solomon. Sure, he sent a goddamn army of mercenaries to raid Michael's house. Well, okay, that's actually quite villainous of him, I admit. But aside from that, he's just a rich asshole, honestly. You never really feel threatened whenever he's around, you know? He's just a goofy guy who loves to jog. To be fair, this could be intentional in Rockstar's part. As I've said earlier, GTA 5's main focus is the three protagonists. It's possible that Rockstar toned them down so that the protagonists could really shine, and boy, they really made them shine. Every moment with Michael, Franklin, and Trevor in the same mission is always a treat. The dialogue, the chemistry behind the three of them is incredible. Ned Luke, Sean Fontano, and Stephen Ogg really did a good job with the motion capture. Graphically, the game being 10 years old, you would think that it will eventually show its age, but no, it can still give open world games of today a run for their money. The fact that this game came out in 3 different console generations just speaks for itself. It's absolutely crazy to me that a game from 10 years ago still blows my mind graphically. Just look at this, you know, the environment, the lighting, everything still looks really fantastic. Gameplay wise, it still plays really good. The gunplay is still top notch. It felt really good shooting guns. God, I never really expected those words to come out of my mouth, but hey, I still stand by that, okay? The gunplay really is fun in this game. The driving is still the best I've experienced in terms of open world sandboxes. The ragdoll physics whenever you crash, top notch. Honestly, I don't really have problems with this gameplay. The main nitpick that I really have with this game is with its mission structure. In almost every game under Rockstar's catalog, there is a very linear way on how they structure their missions. You go to a location, you start the mission, you drive towards the objective, you do the objective, you get the cutscene, and done. Normally, I wouldn't really have problems with this kind of mission structure, but the way the game does it is you're being forced to adhere with the specific objectives tightly. The construction is ruining my video. It's like they're asking you to stick with the script that they provided. Don't get me wrong though, the missions are still fun even if they're like that. It's just that considering that this game is marketed as an open world sandbox game, it's kind of ironic how the game limits you in finding alternative ways of finishing the missions. For example, there's this mission where Franklin was tasked to repossess a car inside Michael's house. Instead of letting the player strategize on how they'll manage to get inside the garage, they just straight up tell you that you can get inside by just climbing through the truck, the roof, and the window. I think it could have been a lot better if they just let the player figure it out, or maybe have multiple options on how you can break into the house, which would be more aligned with the open world sandbox nature of the game. I'm not saying that Rockstar is incapable of giving us those types of missions. They can clearly give us those if they wanted to, because, with high setup missions, they just give you the objective, then they let you deal with it all by yourself. If they managed to give the player the freedom of strategizing an approach like they do for high setup missions, it could have been a lot more immersive. But to give Rockstar credit, as I've said earlier, the missions are still fun. I appreciate the fact that they really tried to establish variety in gameplay for some missions. Not like every other Ubisoft game where it's just rinse and repeat, Sure, some of these missions are hit or miss, but hey, at least they're trying to keep it fresh. Overall, the missions and the gameplay, they're still top tier. I know that for the entirety of this video, I sound like I did not have a good time revisiting the game. But just to clarify, I still had a lot of fun. Playing through it again brought back a lot of memories, and surprisingly, I kind of resonated with the characters more. Like, I'm not a criminal by any means, but as someone who is at my 20s now, I realized that there is so much more to these characters. That Franklin is not just some gangbanger, he's someone who wants to carve his own path and leave that life behind. That Michael is not just a grumpy old man, he's someone who genuinely hates himself despite having a life that most people would want to have. And Trevor is not just some deranged psychopath who resorts to violence. Well, he is, but he's just someone who is very emotional and has abandonment issues. These are things that I overlooked during my initial playthrough, and I'm happy that I replayed the game because I've come to appreciate these characters more than I ever did for the past 10 years. I remembered how much I love GTA 5, and it made me excited for what GTA 6 will bring to the table. If you made it this far onto the video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. I will highly appreciate it, and it will help me a lot. If you have thoughts regarding GTA 5 that you want to share, and also suggestions on how I can improve my videos moving forward, please feel free to leave comments down below. I would love to read your insights as well. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you on the next one. Bye bye!